Just Say No Way is a really great Full House episode with so many different important lessons. This is the 21st episode of the third season. It's directed by Jeff Franklin, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I talk about what happens in this episode. And we have a tiny subplot involving Michelle. It starts off with her making Joey lunch, and she makes him a banana, pickle, jello, and bubblegum sandwich, which sounds disgusting. And then in the scene after that, Danny, Stephanie, and Joey start dancing to this song called Baby Beluga, which I had never heard of before. And it's absolutely one of those songs that if you listen to it frequently, as we do in this episode, it's going to get stuck in your head. And I'll just wrap up this part of the episode. First of all, the rest of it is about DJ. The Baby Beluga song is going to be stuck in my head for a while. And Stephanie starts to get tormented by this because Michelle has decided to listen to it on repeat. And unfortunately, she ends up, well, she doesn't break the cassette, but the cassette player breaks the cassette. It gets all unwound, and I do not miss the days of broken cassettes. And then she makes Danny, Joey, and Stephanie sing Baby Beluga to her. So that's kind of how those characters are involved in the story. The rest of it is mostly DJ with some Jesse. And DJ and Kimmy are in charge of the upcoming school dance. And it's called, I think they called it a backwards dance, where the girls are meant to invite the boys. I feel like that shouldn't be considered backwards. I hope by today's standards it isn't. And Stephanie actually phones Kevin on DJ's behalf and asks him to the dance for DJ. He says yes, everything is going really, really well. And then we get to see the outfits. DJ looks ridiculously grown up. She looks gorgeous, and Kimmy's outfit was just beautiful and absolutely loved it. And then we go to the dance. It's very atmospheric, very nice environment. Jesse is there. He has been roped in to play music because the band they were going to have broke up, so they can't play. And DJ kind of tricked Jessie because she said that there'd be a good supporting band for Jessie, and she actually just got the high school marching band. And I will say, I love the sound of marching bands. I think it's beautiful, but it did ruin Jessie's music. It did ruin Jessie's performance. So Jessie's not very happy. And DJ quickly becomes unhappy as well because we see Kevin talking to some of his friends, and he says that he can't talk easily to people the way that DJ can. So they tell him he needs to loosen up. And the next thing we know, DJ catches them, including Kevin, drinking beer. And DJ is disgusted by this, and she snatches the beer from Kevin. And just before that, actually, one of the friends had sprayed DJ with beer on purpose. And just as DJ takes the beer from them and she mocks them, basically saying, oh yeah, now this is a party, making fun of them for needing beer, Jesse walks out and catches her. And of course, all he sees is DJ holding the beer and saying, this is a party. And obviously he jumps to a fair conclusion, I guess. If you see somebody holding beer and saying it's now a party, it's fair to assume that they were talking about the beer and drinking it. But there is one issue I have with this episode that could have completely cleared up the entire thing. Maybe, possibly. I will explain that more in a moment. But Jesse, well, he drags her home. He makes her leave the dance, and unfortunately, I feel like that was a little bit harsh because she was in charge of the dance and she basically left Kimmy to run it by herself, which is a little bit unfair on Kimmy. But nevertheless, he drags DJ home and DJ starts crying because we know that she wasn't drinking. She knows that she wasn't drinking, but nobody believes her. And Stephanie believes her, and we have this really lovely moment between DJ and Stephanie. And DJ says, I've got to find a way for them to believe me. And I just kept thinking, smell her breath. Now, obviously, one could argue that maybe she was holding the beer because she was about to take a sip of it, but she never actually got round to it before Jesse caught her. So not having beer breath doesn't automatically mean she wasn't going to drink the beer. But Jesse's argument was she smelled like beer anyway. As we know, she got sprayed with the beer. So that was proof that she was drinking. So if Jesse's saying she smells like beer, therefore she was drinking, he's already assuming that she had been drinking. So smelling her breath would completely dispel that. And I feel like that would have just been such an easy way to say, well, if I've been drinking, why doesn't my breath smell like it? And it's a bit of an oversight. As I said, maybe one could argue that it doesn't completely disprove that she wasn't about to start drinking beer, but I feel like it would have been a step in the right direction at convincing people that she hadn't been drinking. So that does irritate me a little bit. What she does next also irritates me because it doesn't fix things really. She snuck out. She went behind Jesse's back and Danny's back and snuck out of the house to go back to the dance. I feel like if you're trying to convince people you're a good, honest person, sneaking out's not the right way to do that. But nevertheless, she goes to the dance and she confronts Kevin, who has been caught. The boys who were drinking have been caught. There are repercussions, which I think was absolutely the right way to take this narrative. And Kevin ends up saying to the grown-ups that it wasn't DJ, she wasn't drinking. And I admire Kevin for doing that. He gave in to peer pressure and he ultimately ended up doing the right thing. And we have a lovely talk between DJ and Jesse, and Jesse explains that he was really proud of what she did and that she will come up against other tough decisions involving drugs and sex. And I think that's the first time sex has been mentioned outright. And I could be wrong about that, but it was a little bit interesting that they're choosing to use the word so directly. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have anything against it. It's just not something that we're used to hearing. And I wonder if that's because up until really this season, all of the children were children, whereas DJ is slightly older and they're able to start discussing slightly more adult themes, and they're able to kind of, because this scene is away from the other children, they're able to kind of broach these topics a little bit more. And it's also alcohol. We don't really get a lot of alcohol in Full House. It does not surprise me, of course, that when we do have alcohol like this, it's painted in a negative light, which again, I think was, for this episode, absolutely the right way to do it. I think it's a brilliant episode. A lot of really important lessons, obviously for young people. Don't drink because it's not going to end well. And don't lie. And also don't sneak out, but there were no real repercussions for her sneaking out. But also don't just assume you know something. Jesse and Danny refused to listen to DJ. They refused to listen to what she had to say. And I think that's a good lesson as well. Just because it might look like something is the case, there's usually more to the story. So don't just assume somebody has done the wrong thing. It's a great episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Just Say No Way is definitely a brilliant episode of Full House.